Brothers and sisters, can I call you that? Okay, my name is Pete Ondeng, and I have been designated to be the timekeeper. That's the new name for Master of Ceremonies. I'm told that I should get you out of here by 1 a.m., so we're going to try to. I'll do my best. No, we're going to move rather fast once we get started, and just wanted to say that we're going to begin immediately with dinner, and as we settle down. Please continue eating if you have food in front of you. Do not stop. But I think in the interest of time, we should get rolling. Once again, thanking all of you for making the effort, for coming for this very special evening. As the MC, I have the privilege of walking around and observing people and watching how much food they're serving on their plates. Dr. Patrick Njoroge, I didn't know you eat so much food. I'm kidding, of course. I want to use this opportunity to just tell you a little bit of what's going to be happening so that you can know where we're going. And then I will invite Ken Munyi, who is the chair of Focus, to come and give us an official welcome. After Ken, we will invite Joshua Wadhanga, who is the coordinator of the organizing committee of this initiative, to give us some background on what this is all about, where this is going, and the spirit behind Hesabika. And then we will, in the process of this, we have a very, very special Minister of Music from Mercy Masika. Can I hear an amen? One of the songbirds from this country, one of my favorite. Mercy Masika's in the house. We're going to then have a word from our guest of honor, Dr. Patrick Njoroge, the central bank governor. And then we will invite our keynote speaker to address us for the evening, Dr. Schluter. After that, we will have a little bit of interaction time. We'll try to keep it short and brief, and so that we don't eat up too much time. And then we'll have a summary and a way forward. That's essentially what we're going to do. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I invite Ken Munyi, who is the chair of Focus. He's also the head of business at iWay Africa. I'm staying here until he comes because it's rare that I find people who are shorter than me. So where's the photographer? Karibu-san.
Thank you. Thank you, Pete. I will not revenge because you're the master today. But really, good evening, everyone, and praise the Lord. What a joy to have every one of us here. The chief guest, Dr. Patrick Njoroge, our keynote speaker, Dr. Michael Shutra, the invited guests, our friends in Focus, the staff of Focus, the students that are here, all protocol observed. Bwana asifiwe. I really want to make very few remarks, and firstly I want to appreciate every one of you for coming to be with us tonight, and particularly appreciate our sponsors who have made this possible. A special thank you to Tier Fund for standing with us and enabling this to happen. Let's perhaps give them a little clap. A really good thank you to River Petroleum and Engineer Peter Njagi is here. Thank you very much for your support to this course. KCB Kenya, and I've seen our brother Sam Akome here. Thank you very much for your support and for standing with us in this noble cause. Allow me to also just mention a few of our friends who have joined us and this evening. Reverend Dr. Wanjao and Mrs. We have Reverend and Mrs. Ibrahim Omondi. We do have Reverend Canon Rosemary Mbogo with us, representing the NCCK. Reverend Bishop Arthur Kitonga. Archbishop Eliud Webukala, Bidan Mbogwa, Ambassador Peter Gitau and Ann Gitau, karibu sana, Reverend Mamboleo, and indeed every last one of you. Turn to your neighbor and ask and tell them karibu sana. Allow me to very briefly as well introduce to you the staff of Focus. And these are the people that are so central to what the Fellowship of Christian Union does. And just allow me to really ask them to stand up wherever they are, then we can acknowledge them and just be able to appreciate them. The staff of Focus who are with us tonight. Because there are a couple who are standing, you can just put up your hand. Good, thank you very much. We have, in Focus, we have several, and we have a very sound governance structure, and we do have a board of trustees, advisory council, and the National Governing Council. And I just want to ask the members of those different organs to just rise wherever they are so that we can again be able to see them and appreciate them this evening. Professor George Kinoti, who is really our father and our friend, karibu sana, and all those dear friends that are rising, asante sana. Allow me to just say a little, something very small about Focus. I know quite many of us know about Focus, but it's fair that we say a few words about Focus. Focus, which stands for the Fellowship of Christian Unions, was registered in Kenya in 1973 and is part of the International Fellowship of Evangelical Students. And this is a body that works amongst the universities and institutions of higher learning, working with evangelical students. And the aim of Focus is to facilitate mutual support and inter-company sharing of ideas and sharpening of leadership capacities for effective Christian work. In other words, we want to ensure that as our students go through our institutions of learning, they can come out with both academic ability, but also an ability in which they are able to live out their faith and demonstrate that faith in society in which they live. We are currently doing and working with more than 150 Christian unions spread across the country. And as you know, the education sector has experienced a tremendous growth in the last couple of years, and this work has grown tremendously. So much so that today we minister and work with over 40,000 students across the country. Focus is affiliated to quite a number of organizations, among them the IFES, as I mentioned earlier, the NCCK, and the EAK in this country. And so we do not do what we do alone. We partner with friends and people of like mind and like passion so that we can, as we seek to impact society. Our vision as a movement is to see Christian students and associates impacting institutions of higher learning and the churches in which they go and society in general. And we are here today, and Joshua will talk a bit more about Hesabika, but Hesabika falls right into our fourth strategic priority in the strategic plan that we just launched at the beginning of this year. And as we reflected and waited on the Lord and consulted, it became critical for us to pursue a strategic priority by the name of integral mission and social transformation. Asking ourselves, how do we make our faith applicable? How do we make our faith relevant? How does our faith provide a response to the challenges that we encounter in the context that we find ourselves? And the aim here is to equip students and associates to bear witness to the transforming gospel of Jesus Christ in their personal and professional lives, as well as challenge. So we both build capacity, equip, but also challenge us to engage in issues of social justice in the society. And that is the context within which we meet here tonight. And so you're so very welcome. We are blessed by your presence. And as we engage, as we listen, we thank God for the opportunity to be here at such a time as this. May the good Lord bless you.
You can. Let's give him a better round of applause. And one of the privileges I also have is that I can change the program whenever I want to. And right now, maybe it's because I can't wait. I'm going to invite up here my good friend Mercy Masika to come and minister to us. Let's give her a round of applause.
With a smile on your face. Welcome to my dunia sana
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello? Thank you, Mercy. That was beautiful. I wondered if you'd like me to sing a song also. No, I see you all going like this. Well, I won't. Maybe at least not for now. But thank you very much. Mercy, we're going to have you back here a bit later on. And I look forward to hearing one of my favorites that she has produced. I don't want to waste too much more time. I want to invite a man who, if you were looking for a consultant, one of the people who I consider very focused, he's a consultant in change management, organizational development, but he's also the coordinator, former Secretary General of Focus, but currently the coordinator of Hesabika. Joshua Watanga, my friend, come and tell us what this is all about.
Well, thank you, Peter, for inviting me to sing a song after Hesabika. So I hope you're all set for that. But seriously, when we were just coming in, one of you remarked to me, you mean you are expecting all these people, you're expecting to fill all these seats? If indeed you're expecting so many people, how come this country is not changing? Right. And that is a question we need to discuss and answer tonight. Because you see, you only have to look at the news yesterday, the day before, and today, and hopefully not tomorrow. And it feels like everyone is on the tick in this country. And that everyone would include us here. And many people out there have despaired of this country changing or going to the right direction. And so people say, all we need is better politicians, better lawyers especially, no. Better engineers, better teachers. The fact of the matter is that those politicians and those engineers and those teachers are here. And so how come this place is not changing? One of the latest Hesabika dinner invites is a person I met yesterday. His name is Lothike. Lothike, where are you seated? You are seated here. Thank you, thank you. I want to say something about Lothike. Lothike comes from Lodwar in Turkana. And yes, I met him yesterday and we had a short conversation with him. And I learned that obviously as a university graduate and of a number of years ago, his fellow graduates from Turkana have gone for greener pastures and they have left Turkana, like many of us have done and have left our home places and gone into the city so that we can improve ourselves and our families. So I asked him, so why didn't you leave Turkana like your mates? And he told me some statistics. He reminded me that 10% of the GDP of this country, and the governor of Central Bank can confirm when he comes here, is actually from the livestock sector. 70% of livestock in this country is in the Asau region. That is the arid and semi-arid areas where Turkana is and those other counties. In the Asaus, 90% of the people who live there depend on livestock. So if you really want to transform Turkana and the Asaus, indeed, if you want to transform Kenya, you want to do something about those places. And so Lothike decided, you know what, because I want and I feel called to change where I am, and that is Lodwar and Turkana, I'm going to stay here. And I'm going to bring the transformation right where I am. Lothike, to me, is a person who is on purpose and living for a purpose. If if we are going to change this country, and if God is going to use us to change this country, we've got to be people who have a purpose, and a purpose that is greater than ourselves, a purpose that is greater than our well-being, a purpose that is greater than what we can do for our own families. And that's what really Hesabika is about. I'm not going to tell you a lot about Hesabika. In a moment, there will be a documentary here telling us about that. But one or two things. Change has to start with each one of us. Edmund Burke, and many of you would know many of his quotes. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people like those who are seated here to do nothing. And that seems to be our preoccupation in Kenya. We have joined the conspiracy of silence, particularly we who are the middle class. If we think we are being pained by what is happening in this country, what about people who feel helpless out there and they are looking up to us? Now, to be sure, and as will be obvious, and I know many of you are actually agents of transformation where you are, there are many little fires that are out there in the countryside. What we need to start doing is coalescing those fires, joining them together, so that they become a big flame that is going to transform this country. I'm not a sociologist, but I hear that sociologists keep on arguing, like other professionals. How many people are required to change a culture? How many people do you really need to change a nation? And there are some percentages that are bandied around. So some people say you only need 1%, others 2, 3%. I don't know. It is said that Kenya is 80% Christian. Do we need 80% of the people to change a nation? Do we even need 50%? Do we even need 10% to change this nation? John Wesley is quoted to have said, "Give me 100 men, and I'll add women. Only 100 who fear God with all their heart and fear only sin, and we can change this world." We are more than 100 here. And we are not talking about changing the world, we are talking about Kenya. Can we be one of those 100 who will stand and be counted, who is going to Hesabika even tonight, so that this country can change for good and for God? It's a documentary that you tell us more about Hesabika. Thank you.
Well, we want to take this opportunity to invite our chief guest, Dr. Patrick Njoroge, the Central Bank Governor, and to invite him, I'm going to ask Sarah Wapokulu, who is Manager of Commercial Services at the Kenya Power. Sarah was very instrumental in inviting the governor to come, so we've asked her to come and make the introduction. Sarah.
Thank you.
Karibu.
Good evening. It's been bad enough sitting there and imagining that I'll be asked to come up here. So when Pete decides to talk about an electric chair that doesn't have power, he just made it worse. But for today, we are having power. So I am honored to come here and just give you a small story. Actually, in the office where I sit, a lot of times I get customers who come with one issue or another concerning supply of electricity. So on Tuesday this week, one customer calls and says, I'm a senior citizen and I want to see a manager. So he comes and introduces himself as Mr. Muriuki, and he tells me he used to work with Shell. I think he was the CEO for Shell. And I quickly tell him, do you know John Nganga? You know, just trying to, pull around some tough names. So I said, John Nganga worked with Shell, and I have a privilege of serving with John in Focus in different ways. And he looks at me in the face and asks me, you are the leaders of this country. I've never thought of myself that way. I always think the leaders are the ones I'm seeing seated here. And he says, where are you taking this country? He actually turned his face. He is the age of my father. He's 82 years old. And he got very serious. He told me, where are you taking this country? You just have to do something. Otherwise, we are losing it. And he was getting very worked up because some guy who was supposed to read his meter didn't read it. So that's what had brought him. And I tell him, really, I'm sorry about this, but we are actually having a dinner coming in on Friday, and that's the question we are asking ourselves. So that was just a story to tell us, to bring me to the point on how did I get to be the one being asked to stand here and introduce Dr. Njoroge. I had a privilege of my MD asking me to go to State House. I normally don't go there, by the way. To go to State House to represent him in a breakfast on the launch for the Beyond Zero campaign. And I took it up very quickly because as you saw me coming, I'm one of the people in this country who benefited from a good health center in the rural area. When I was hit with polio at age 3, that's more than 50 years ago, but there were some very good health centers in the rural area where I was attended to and I was able to stand up again. So I took it very quickly, not just because I really wanted a breakfast at State House, so I was there very early. And I told myself, because I'm representing the CEO of Kenya Power, I'll go and sit in front, right next to where Margaret is going to sit. So I walked to the front and I found the table labeled cabinet secretary. So I walked one table back and I told myself, now I'll sit here. Then there's a lady who was seated next to me and she was very cheerful. So she says, oh, sit, we'll have a chat. Then she pulls a card, a reservation card, and I see Governor Central Bank. So I tell myself, wrong table. Now, how do I get myself to the backside again? Then something else tells me, sit, just sit. You are representing the CEO of Kenya Power, So I sat and Dr. came and sat and I realized he's not a very, very bad person. He's chatting us up. And everybody, of course, everybody who came around, he stood up to greet them. And when he finally sat and I got a bit of courage, I told him, we have been looking for you. So he asked me, you and who? I say, Focus. And I tell him, Focus. And now I'm even struggling to explain, so what is Focus? And I tell him, now I start pulling your names, Reverend Oginde and Callisto. I'm looking now. How do I get to explain this Focus issue? And I tell him about Hesabika because I'm a member of the committee. And actually, we were looking out for Kenyans who are in the marketplace, whose life is, speak of what we were looking for. And I quickly told him that, actually, I was not supposed to sit on this table. I only sat here because I was to give you this message, that you have to come and speak to us, this Hesabika. Now, explaining Focus was difficult. You can guess how difficult it was to explain Hesabika. So I tried around, but I think I delivered the message. So that evening we were having our committee meetings and I get to the meeting room and our chairman, Dr. Joshua Wadanga is, being the chairman, when we get into the meeting, he's the one who begins telling us the events of the week. Then now us we put ours. So he was explaining his and how for 2 weeks there has been every effort to get Daktari to come and just explain to him that we'll be glad if he can join us. And it had not worked. So I let Joshua, speak because I'm having, I was having something to unleash. So, so when I realized it was taking too long, I told him, Joshua, just hold it there. The Lord did it this morning. You didn't send me, but the Lord sent me. And if I could just repeat to the team here, what I told Daktari is that why we wanted him to come and speak to us or share with us this evening is because we felt his life demonstrates what we were looking for. And I told him, we just want to increase the number of Kenyans who will be able to blend their faith